Undaunted Weekly Recap. I am Star Smart. It's a time when we summarize the highlights from the weekly news bulletin.
One of the major highlights of Undaunted Weekly News briefings was the death of Ni John Fundy. Rather than mourn him, Ambazonians were deliberating exactly where he would be buried. That was not all. Tibonage slammed Paul Biya for not writing his condolence speech in the English language. The question as to the friendship of Fundy and Biya was on top our discussion list, especially since they met for the first time only in 2010.
We looked at some other national issues, ranging from the GCE board suspension to Amazonian more rape cases, down to the heap of dirt in Queen Market on the foreign scene. We also brought to you different dimensions of the BRICS summit. Before we bring you the recap proper, let's take the first reports of today.
Payment method: www.abcambertv.com/donate. ABC Amber TV payment channels: Cash App 202-650-2216, Zelle 240-486-8768, Ambazonia Broadcasting Corporation. PayPal donations at abcambertv.com. For more details, call +124 028 43 111. You can email us at info@abcambertv.com. Payment method: www.abcambertv.com. Donate. ABC Amber TV payment channels: Cash App 202-650-2216, Zelle 240-486-8768, Ambazonia Broadcasting Corporation. PayPal donations at abcambertv.com. For more details, call +124 028 43 111. You can email us at info@abcambertv.com.
Well, you're welcome back. Information getting to us has confirmed that Colonial Republic of Cameroon security forces are reported to have shot and burnt an old man, popularly known as Tiklo, to death in Big Babanki, Tuba local government area of Mazam County. According to ABC Amber TV sources from Big Babanki, the troops had embarked on searching of homes in the quarters when they met the said old man who had visited a friend at the Tugo Quarter neighborhood. Sad still, the owner of the home is reported to have escaped, leaving the visitor in his home.
Well, while searching the home, the soldiers are said to have realized the owner of the home, who was a traditional doctor. The soldiers then turned the heat on the visiting old man, who was shot dead, and set his body on fire as if it is a crime to visit a native doctor in Amazonia. A business lady in one of the squares in Big Babanki narrated the ordeal. In her words, she said, "The past 3 days have not been easy in the village. The La Republic troops have burned 5 houses and killed an old man. Then they told us that they will show us what we want by sexually abusing the ladies."
Faced with such barbaric acts from the enemy, many people in Big Babanki have escaped to farms and bushes for fear of being brutalized by the heartless Colonial Republic of Cameroon soldiers. Young men in the village are escaping because they are the main targets. Colonial Republic of Cameroon troops have been deployed permanently in Big Babanki following a request by Fond Benjamin Visimbong Vabansi, a CPDM traditional ruler of the village. The CPDM firm had written to the Colonial La Republic de Cameroon government requesting the deployment of the occupier soldiers in Big Babanki, which earned him a ban from the Ambazonian Restoration Forces from entering his village since he works and lives in Yaoundé.
Well, the CPDM Fond's request for Lara public troops to be deployed to Babanki was widely criticized, and locals have accused the colonial Lara public troops of breaking into homes, destroying and stealing properties. Worthy to note that one of the colonial Lara public's military men in same locality has gone sleepless, having only nightmares, having shot dead a masquerade performing at a death celebration. A similar fate, or even worse, awaits the La Republic killers of T Club. Well, we say rest in peace.
Well, Undaunted asked a question in this very last report on the Big Babanka. The question was, how can the fun of Big Babanka invite enemies, La Republic de Cameroon colonial forces, to protect his people? The rhetoric continues, protecting his people from who or from what? Given that the only enemy to the betterment of the lives of Amazonia in general and Babanke in particular is the colonial La Republic de Cameroon and all its thugs and surrogates. Since the arrival of La Republic de Cameroon military deployment to Babanki on Sunday, June 11th, it has been one atrocity to another on their path. They announced their arrival by killing two people, one on a palm wine tree yesterday, Friday, June 16. The La Republic de Cameroon forces killed over 20 people. The fund claimed to bring in La Republic de Cameroon military to protect the people. Is the increased death rate of innocent civilians the protection he promised?
Well, we wonder. Inhabitants of Big Babanki say the La Republic terrorist forces killed more than a dozen civilians in the village on Friday, June 16th, 2023, just yesterday. It's been confirmed that close to 20 civilians have lost their lives and have been found on the streets after Friday's rain. Intelligence has it, as was reported by Kemia Shu, that these colonial military were led into Big Babanki by the Fon of Babanki himself. Undaunted gathered on the ground that those killed had no links with Amazonian restoration forces as they were only civilians. But there has been an influx of La Republic's military forces in Babanki for weeks after the fund demanded security help for his political reason and for Cameroon's annihilation, where they intend to wipe out the young men who can contend with La Republic forces. As a matter of fact, harmless innocent civilians have been killed as they tried fleeing from Kejum Keku, also known as Big Babanki, away from the war zone in Amazonia following attacks.
Well, it's important to note that Kejim Keko is along the Ngokent Tuja and Bui axis, where there has been fierce confrontation between the colonial military of French Cameroon and the Amazonian Restoration Forces for several months now. Well, we have reported previously how Cameroon military trucks have been exploded along this axis and hundreds of thousands of the forces of occupation they have also been neutralized, mostly along that axis. To confirm this, Kemi Ashu just a moment ago has reported on the retaliation of the ARFs in Bui under the leadership of General Chok and Do. From the images we see, it is clear that in that proactive act, the boys under General Chok and Do have successfully blown another military truck today. Well, details of the casualties are unknown at the moment.
Now, getting back into the story, reports say that the victims on their way to Bamenda, running away from the war between the restoration forces and the forces of occupation, were killed in cold blood and abandoned at the toll gate in Bambui, one of the closest places to the Bamenda town and the Babanki Road. The massacre continues over and over again when the colonial military are frustrated or are led into the hinterland by enabler auxiliary funds. Instead of searching for the restoration forces, they victimize and kill the innocent civilian population. And they are supposedly trained military. This is unethical and against the Geneva laws on how a war should be prosecuted. It is a blatant disregard for the life of the Amazonian people. And we are still wondering when the international partners will look on the issue seriously.
Well, according to the reports we are getting from different sources, more corpses have been discovered in the bushes in Big Babanki with the bullet wounds, which shows that the military were spraying bullets. It can audaciously be said that it indeed was a random and targeted killing, an attitude of the French Cameroon's military that we already know of. How many can we count?
How many can we count? Like, there's still traumatic flashbacks of the Ngabor massacre, the Kumba massacre, the Undu massacre, the um, Bali massacre, and many more. We've seen this happen many times, and in every of these scenarios, Cameroon's military target women and children indiscriminately and inclusively. Someone testified on the ground told Undaunted, pleading anonymity, saying that she was on her farm when the gunshots were heard. She says, I hid in the grass and saw how they were shooting at the bodies on the ground like they were shooting animals. From a distance, I could see one placing something that looks like a stick on one of the bodies.
Well, we can audaciously say that this has been targeted to waste lives of innocent civilians. This is not the first time we have seen this. We have seen this in Kumbar, the Ndu, the Ngabu massacres, just naming a few. And in every of this massacre, La Republic du Cameroon targets children and women, most especially.
Well, we have seen this before, but then the fact is those killed are civilians. The Colonial La Republic military claimed the victims were Amazonian fighters at the checkpoint, but images reviewed by the Undaunted newsroom shows the victims were in different locations, and that proves otherwise.
Well, it's have to arrive at an armed conflict, a genocidal war, before La Republique du Cameroon moves formally to recognize the existence of two subsystems in higher education. Well, reports from the Colonial La Republique du Cameroon Parliament says, in a bid to tell the world that we are one and indivisible, and that reforms are being undertaken to appease the southern Cameroons, Ambazonia, La Republique du Cameroon's Ministry of Higher Education has tabled before Parliament this week, well, for consideration as it's their June 2023 season, a bill to replace the existing law of 2021 laying down guidelines for higher education in Cameroon.
Well, it should be noted that the 2001 law, together with the 1998 law to lay down guidelines on education in La Republique, which covers nursery, primary, secondary, technical, and teacher training education, are the two legal pillars that brought these two countries together in educational system. Now, having witnessed the failure of their educational system as their children have abandoned it in favor of the British Southern Cameroons, the failed La Republic state is trying to show the world that all is well. Article 4, subsection 3 of the 2023 Higher Education Bill provides that the state shall ordain and organize the system of higher education by taking into account the specificities of the two education subsystems, Anglo Saxon and Francophone, as a contributing ingredient to the influence and performance of the higher education system to satisfy their children who have invaded the Amazonian system.
Well, this is another blank check from Occupy La Republic du Cameroon, always looking for their interest in Amazonia. The bill also defines the two subsystems as being Anglo-Saxon and Francophone, with each subsystem being characterized by a body of specific and cohesive principles, which reflects its historical, culture, and philosophical peculiarities. This is the reason why some southern Cameroons, Amazonia, are languishing in jail, some missing, some maimed, some killed, and some on involuntary exile since 2016, just for daring the repressive Colonial La Republic du Cameroon junta to review these reforms. Well, 8 years later, and with all these issues having fueled a conflict, a war of independence that has killed over 45,000 innocent lives, exiled hundreds of thousands, burnt hundreds of homes and villages, we will now get to formal recognition that in higher education as well. Well, there exist subsystems and unique approaches between the English and French models. Shame to colonial Republic to Cameroon because this is coming too late when Amazonians in their liberation struggle have reached a point of no return till Boya.
Well, it is worthy to note that prior to this June 2023 bill, the only texts which recognized the existence of subsystems in higher education were the decrees establishing the universities of Boya and Bamenda of 1993 and 2010, respectively, which chartered them as universities in the Anglo Saxon tradition. Only on the basis of this provision was it obtained that English could constitute the language of instruction in both universities. For all substantive programs other than French language learning, even though this lofty text finally remained a mere paper tiger, as both Francophone children and administrators again invaded Boya and Bamenda universities. Today's armed conflict, the Amazonian War of Independence, which started off in the education and legal sectors before spiraling into political demands, strikes, and morphing to a bloody and genocidal armed conflict, has as one of the most contentious issues that built up resentment amongst Anglo-Saxon higher education lecturers union, where the plans to harmonize, meaning make the same curricula amongst all state universities in La Republique du Cameroon. The reason advanced being to enhance student mobility between universities, which was just another ploy to keep Amazonians under eternal subjugation, as it is said in local parlance, sell a goat and hold the rope.
Well, the Lecturers' Union, other universities of Boya and Bamenda objected on grounds that harmonizing their programs directly with other sects could dilute their Anglo-Saxon specificities, especially since the templates for harmonization used were strongly inspired by the French dominant universities. After a hard-won struggle, they obtained a resolution to allow the University of Boya and the UBDA harmonize their programs between themselves, and future universities in the Anglo-Saxon tradition could harmonize their programs with them as well.
Now, two have been killed in a house set ablaze by the La Republic's military in the announcement of their presence in Kejum Keku Big Babanki. I'm sure you're not wondering whose presence we're talking about, the La Republic's military. Undaunted learned that 12 days after the traditional ruler of Big Babanki said there was a need for the creation of a military post there, dozens of forces arrived on Sunday, June 10th. Just 2 days after the colonial La Republic's military entered Big Babanki, they killed two persons, those they were supposed to protect. The earlier they are taken out of Amazonia's territory, the safer will the people of Amazonia be. Now, how can the fun of Babanki even invite these oppressors to protect his people in the first place? Isn't this ironic?
Well, the Amazonian Restoration Forces have reacted to the deployment of the occupational La Republic du Cameroon forces to Kejom Keko, which is also known as the Big Babanki village. The Amazonian Restoration Forces, the ARFs, have prohibited the entry nor exit of any mobility means into Big Babanki till the colonial La Republic du Cameroon military leaves the village. The Amazonian Restoration Forces placed this injunction on the 13th of June as they set ablaze a commercial taxi, an act demonstrating the seriousness and commitment for the injunction to be enforced.
Now, this stand of the Amazonian Restoration Forces is captured in a video on circulation. And this is the declaration from the video. As our fawn has said, he doesn't want Amazonian fighters. We have also said that this road will not be passed again till the La Republic military leave the village. Failure to do so, anything that passes here will be set ablaze. Well, on May 30th, His Royal Highness Rutsibong Benjamin urged the colonial La Republic's administration to deploy troops in the village and create a military base to counter the activities of Amazonia fighters. Entering the fund request, a heavy La Republic's military was deployed to Big Babanki, Bella local government area in Boyo County of southern Cameroon's Amazonia.
All right, before we continue, let's see what they said in that video.
Today the 13th. Yes, now our main road this way, the enter go our village. How we but for our village on decide say, you know what, Amba, we don't decide say the road no go pass. You no go pass. The military come up for our village before peace go reign. Failure to do so All thing for the road. Na burning. Burning. We dey burn others. Na nothing no go dey. We go burn am. The spirit will not come out. Yes.
Well, the deployed La Republic's army on Monday, June 12, 2023, killed two of whom they claimed were Amazonian fighters, and on Tuesday, the next day, the colonial La Republic military forced the population to come out and clean the three quarters roundabout. It is a developing story, and Undaunted will keep updating as things unfold.
Well, moving on, there are sacrifices being done with human blood by the Yaoundé regime or just simple road mishaps. The alarming rate of bloodshed on this road now, almost on a daily basis, is a cause for concern. Well, this small 240-kilometer stretch of road, which connects the La Republic to Cameroon's economic capital to its political capital, has become a meeting point for death. The commuters as well as the elites are decimated there. In a nutshell, La Republic du Cameroon decision makers have invested in their stomach, and as such, there is no suitable road that can allow its denizens to travel.
Well, the corrupt and bloodletting government says it has been building a double carriageway for ages. Billions are squandered without the famous highway coming out of the ground. Money meant for this project has, as usual, been embezzled by a handful for a road that could have saved millions of lives, and more than 10 years have passed, and these gentlemen, despite the billions they take out of the state coffers, have managed to build 60 kilometers out of the 240 kilometers only. At this rate, it would take another 50 years to finish the left of 190 kilometers. Now, that is to say that most of us will no longer be of this world if, in the meantime, the slaughter slab has not found a way to swallow the rest who are leaving.
Well, yesterday it was an artist, the other day a funeral convoy that took away lives of 90 mourners. As it is said in the enemy language, well, it says the highway robbers have equally found fertile grounds on this road as they are always the first to arrive at the scenes, pretending to be taking care of the victims, but actually searching their pockets and bags and clearing them of all valuables and line their pockets before any firefighter or rescue mission arrives. It is actually that even the Colonial Republic of Cameroon military officers on this highway enrich themselves fatly through these unfortunate incidences. Well, this is where I would end the weekly recap here. When we come back after the break, we'll take the recap proper. You're welcome. Monday, June 12th, reviewed another determination of the people of Southern Cameroons in demonstrating their dislike of the colonial role of La Republique du Cameroon in Ambazonia. Well, it was yet another Monday, traditional ghost town as usual, with empty streets, offices locked, and municipal markets locked as well. With all of this, well, it indicates peculiar to Mondays, the different playing grounds are very functional.
Well, three persons narrowly escaped death also after falling from a dilapidated bridge on the way leading to the Chico General Hospital in the Atlantic zone of Amazonia. This is what we brought to you on Monday. An eyewitness recounts that the three victims were crossing the dilapidated bridge when their bike slid on the broken wood.
Well, the Colonial Senior Divisional Officer for Menchum has in a release called on those aspiring to mount the throne as a new phone of issue to drop their applications in his office. Well, we asked, is this not pure witchcraft and an insult to the traditional instruction of the people of Amazonia? The colonial SEO is the one now launching a recruit to fit a traditional vacant position. Is this not a slap to the faces of our very kingmakers. Kingmakers of Esu, a locality in Mentrum County, are still recovering from the arrows they released of the colonial SDO for Mentrum, which has shot or was shot in their institution.
We also brought to you on Monday that the funds of Menchum under the umbrella name, the Menchum Council of Chiefs, have issued a statement rubbishing the release of the colonial SDO to the Menchum County. By the statement of the chiefs, they stated that after a review on the release of the colonial senior divisional officer for Menchum, they strongly condemned the content of such a document. They say it violates their sovereignty, their customs, and their traditions by dictating the sacred affairs of their tradition. The press release of the colonial SDO stated that it is time to move ahead for the development of Esu. He also calls for kingmakers and notables of Esu village for a sense of responsibility to facilitate process of a new chief hit free. He therefore invites prospective candidates to the throne of Esu to file in their candidacy to his office for arrangement of consultative talks at the Palace of Esu.
Well, at least 30 women in the University of Boyer, their Atlantic zone, have come up with an initiative to produce liquid soap. The group of women from different departments of the University of Boyer are called the University of Boyer Women Association, said that they have discovered the importance of practical skills that can help them earn more money and make a living. They came up with the idea to produce high quality liquid soap at a very affordable price. People have been depending on imported products for a very long time, and it's time they started encouraging local production.
We brought to you on Tuesday how traders of the Nkwane market of Queen's local government area in Bamenda have expressed their vulnerability in front of a fast-growing heap of dirt in the market. Talking to Undaunted in a routine survey of the city, Tuesday, June 13th, the traders said they are still alive by God's grace, but the polluted air they inhale daily, the air of the Nkwenza local government area, particularly of the Nkwane market area, is polluted by the sting from the ever growing heap of dirt in the market.
Well, still on Tuesday, we brought you a report about Capo Daniel and we asked who is he? Well, he is notorious for taking credit whenever and wherever the ARFs make any spectacular performance. He is also notorious for causing confusion within the ranks of the valiant ARFs as he did with his failed Unity Warriors and No Pity. Well, his dubious act and high-handedness as a traitor has led to the death of several gullible fighters in such a way as to crumble the struggle, but further steadfastness of the President of the Federal Republic of Amazonia, Dr. Sako, and the People's IG, well, things are better.
Now, two Amazonian teenager girls are traumatized by death threats from one Enyanga, a member of the Colonial La Republic to Cameroon's armed force in the Atlantic zone of Amazonia. These two have been victims of sexual harassment from the La Republic personnel, and because he is licensed to carry firearms acquired from taxpayers' money, he makes them know that he can actually use the arms on them at any time. From a video circulating on social media, the girls explain their ordeal in the hands of this Yanga, La Republic's military rapist. Let's see the video.
Yeah, I've been really traumatized, and he's only calling me and be threatening me that he's going to kill me. If I don't sleep with him again, that he will kill me. That if he does not sleep with I and my friend, that he's going to kill us. This is my friend, her name is Yolan.
Yeah, my name is Iya Yolan Bukwe. I'm a Bakurian from Bukova. I school at JHS Bukova Roram. I'm the victim of the incident that I was caught on Sunday, in which I used Mr. Ayenga's phone to call my friend to bring my birth certificate because I'm still 16. I don't have an ID card. I called her using his phone. Meanwhile, the man directly told me, Mr. Yenga told me in his office that if I sleep with him, he's going to release me at the moment. I told him that no, I cannot, that is going to be traumatized. The man said, okay, I should go back inside. They said I'm going to work inside them. And when not knowing that he has taken his phone and called my friend, telling her that they should meet up at checkpoint, in which they did without me knowing. It's just now that I found out, as she earlier said, after he slept with her, after he slept with her, telling her that if she says anything, he's going to kill her. Also telling me that if he does not sleep with me, I'm not going to be released. In which I cried that day in the station.
Well, very sad. Moving on, the Cameroon's General Certificate of Education (GCE) board has imposed sanctions on GCE examination officials of the GPHS Isangeli in the Indian County of the Atlantic Zone of Ambazonia in the aftermath of an examination marred by leakages. A communique signed by Dang Aku Dominic, registrar of the GCE board on the 9th of June 2023, said Mr. Tabot Elliot Tankar, the chief of center, alongside Osang Mbute Lawrence, Aboko Felix, Nkamfak Gregory, and J. Paul and Ngwesa Fred, were suspended from participating in all GCE board activities of the 2023 examination season as from the 9th of June 2023. Well, the communique equally announced that the suspended chief of the center will be replaced immediately by Mr. Ikuna Mikel Mbando, currently serving as senior discipline master at GTC Aqua Bakarsi.
Now, on June 14, 2023, health staff of the blood bank unit of the Bamenda Regional Hospital could barely sit as persons trooped in to perform a philanthropic gesture. Men and women within the age range of 20 to 40, after performing tests, all queued to complete the blood extraction process. Some were coming in for the first time, like Loom and Cyril, who actually said they were coming in for the first time. And it's true that there's some fear, but they are doing it for their brothers. The blood bank of the Bamenda Regional Hospital was running below capacity with less than 100 sacks for a 600 unit store. The situation of their blood bank was really not good, and they were unable to satisfy the needs of the population.
Well, on the African scene, we told you that the former American Secretary of State for African Affairs, Ambassador Tibonaje, said in his tweet that Bia's message to Fundi's family was in French and a very abnormal and scandalous issue about the octogenarian dictator Bia's condolence message to the late family is that the message was written in French, whereas the destination was well known. But we digressed a bit. We told you that Frundi, in his most recent political agenda, wasn't really a challenger of beer. Now, the authenticity of that claim was our major concern. We told you that Beer and Frundi, according to Ambazonians, are friends, even though Frundi's initiality was a variance with Paul Beer's. Well, along the line, they eventually became friends.
Well, on the African scene, we told you that Nigeria produced 1.184 million barrels of crude oil per day, according to OPEC, direct communication statistics. In contrast, Angola, Libya, and Algeria each produced 1.111 million barrels per day, 1.158 million barrels per day, and 962,000 barrels per day, respectively, making Nigeria the top crude oil producing African nation. Now, in Ghana, the jewel of West Africa has once again ascended to the pinnacle of Africa's gold industry, reclaiming its coveted position as the continent's top gold producer. After a temporary setback in 2021 due to a sharp decline in output, the nation has staged an extraordinary comeback, surpassing South Africa with its remarkable surge in gold production.
And on the foreign scene, we told you on Monday that Jim Rickards, an economist and the author of Currency Wars, has predicted the unveiling of a new BRICS currency, stating that it could weaken the role of the dollar in global payments and ultimately displace the US dollar. On Tuesday, Pakistan has paid for its first government of oil and Chinese yuan. On Wednesday, we told you that an economist who previously worked at the Bank for International Settlements, BIS, has provided insight on the possibility of a BRICS currency coexisting with the US dollar. noting that China is a major trading partner of all BRICS nations. But he suggested that pegging to the RMB and aligning their bilateral exchange rate would be the first major step. Well, that's all we took as our major highlight from the weekly bulletin.
Well, with that, we've come to the end of Undaunted weekly recap. Coming up next, exclusive discussion with Tar Party Cake.
What's it? It's so nice. Mm.
Yeah, I know it's nice. Even the pineapple,
Mm.
that's the stuff you want to eat it.
Mm.
It's nice.
Do I actually want that?
Yeah. Okay. What's that? No, what's